Good afternoon, you beautiful people. My name's Ant. Welcome to Calming the Chaos. First of all, I'd like to do a few shout outs to a few new subscribers. We've got Nick Joyce, Bobby Luna, Sarah Khan, Annie McFlanagan, Mr. Malk 101 and Josh Mitchell. Thanks again for your subscriptions. The more we help, the more we grow, as I say. I'd also like to do a big shout out to Zach, Marin, Faye Green, and I hope we get this right, Anishka. These four guys have hopefully been looking forward to the podcast that we're going to be putting together soon. So I've been kind of networking that behind the scenes there. Great things to come. Also in the pipe work is a journal. We'll be selling journals with, you know, a guide of, like, you know, to-do list for the day, achievements, you know, a little mood board in there, just kind of to help you guys note down every day how you're feeling. It's good thing to look back on and, you know, refer to when you're kind of down, or also when you're up, just to show that times are temporary. So today I've come down to a little river near Truro, try and get this video done. I've been stopping and starting a few times, but here we go. So this topic is very close to home. Tara Goodwin actually suggested it. It kind of was in the pipeline, but, you know, as I did a poll on Facebook and I found that this was probably one of the highest anticipated symptoms of borderline personality disorder. So the topic I want to kind of talk about today is the fear of abandonment. As I just said, it's kind of a big thing to do with borderline personality disorder, but it can also, you know, just be an everyday human thing. We are social creatures. We do have a primary need to be around people, especially those caregivers, those guardians, those parental roles. They bring us a psychological security in life, you know. So as I said, anyone can kind of face abandonment issues of any age. You don't necessarily, you know, have to be a child going through trauma. You know, something tragic as an adult could have happened and caused an absence or a loss of a loved one. And I think as an adult you're kind of able to rationalize the absence a little bit more, or the grief a little bit more, you know. But I think as a child it's a very complex situation that puts a lot of pressure on the forming, you know, emotional boundaries of a growing child. So kind of diving in is a little bit self-explanatory, but I just want to kind of go over it for those who might not have heard anything to do with it. But the fear of abandonment is obviously, you know, the intense doom, impending doom of the loss of someone you know, care for or love or think highly of, or in some cases with BPD you've kind of idolized them. That's obviously another big topic that we'll kind of cover, idolization and devaluation in the future. But as I said, this can kind of come with those people that mean a lot to us, or we feel have impacted our lives, you know, in a good way, considering, you know, we've had trauma as children or whatever. We now, you know, those good things, we kind of grab onto them and you sometimes probably smother them to death, if I'm honest, you know, with love, care and affection. Like, you love it that tight, yet you know, you're like squeezing a puppy. Oh, it's a good puppy, and then, oh no, what have I done to the puppy, type of thing. So yeah, where does it come from? It comes from the loss and absence of a parent or guardian, and that can be both physically and emotionally. You know, you can have those sort of caregivers that see it's okay to, you know, provide for the food, the water, the shelter, the physical needs that we crave and require, but then aren't able, for whatever reasons of their own, able to show the emotional support and guidance that young person needs. It can come from, you know, situations where you've been orphaned or adopted or placed in the care system for many other reasons. I don't like to delve into them, each to their own. Everyone's got their own story. Also, again, with medical professionals, you know, if you don't have much family and these medical professionals are there to try and help you and do the best they can with BPD, we can kind of, like, you know, idolize them as such, or fixate on that they're going to be the ones to make life happy again. So, you know, either when they say they might be on leave, or they they might be changing jobs, you might be getting a new worker. This also can erupt the fear of abandonment. So, and I think it also comes from, especially as an adult, your lack of self-worth and confidence, and believing that you do bring value to that person's life, or this person would want you to be a part of their life. I think if you don't have like good self-value, you question everyone else's value of yourself. So that's something, again, we're just going into the future about, how we see ourselves is not necessarily how everyone else sees us. And I think sometimes with borderline personality disorder, we can get caught up in the opinions, or our believed opinions of those around us. So kind of like moving on to, that's kind of BPD. I kind of want to go into like some of the ways that this fear can transpire in both, a psychological way and a physical way, as well as an emotional way. So the emotions that you feel when you feel the fear of abandonment, they all have roots. They all come from somewhere. Whether that's like your wife left you, is leaving, or your girlfriend's gonna leave, or your friend's gonna move away. But when you was younger, you kind of didn't have a parent, or you was orphaned or adopted or something. The fear that that person in your present is going to leave is really deeply connected to someone else leaving you that kind of really should have been there. So again, all these feelings, they come from somewhere. So to a degree, you are valid in feeling them. It's normal to feel these feelings that come up with fear of abandonment, such as loneliness, inadequacy, paranoia, again, lack of self-belief. There are many, and they're each to their own situation. They all erupt different feelings depending on the individual. So again, other ways it can kind of like transpire into physical and emotional and psychological things, are clinginess, and dependency, idolization. So I think this is like the kind of start of the abandonment issue, but doesn't look like the abandonment issue, if you get what I mean, because you suddenly enjoy this person. You don't even contemplate they're going to go, because you're so caught up in how amazing it is, how good they are, how well you connect. And you kind of, become, more and more time is spent together, you talk more together, and that can build an intense dependency for someone who has felt abandoned in their life, that suddenly this person is here and they're gonna be a rock, and they're gonna stay around and whatnot. And then that kind of like, again, creates, like I say, that codependency relationship, which I think is the start of the fear of abandonment, because you lose rationalization of being able to say, like, well, when that person doesn't want to hang out as much, or they have got some other things to do, or they might want to hang out with someone else for a minute, you will then kind of like panic, like, oh no, it's not the same, they don't feel the same as they used to, I've obviously upset them, I'm not a good person, or maybe I'm boring. All these kind of like thoughts and anxieties kind of start to manifest within yourself. Again, with intrusive thoughts, slightly, and if it's kind of not, it's like a snowball. If that initial like fear isn't stopped, it can lead on from anxiety, then to intrusive thoughts, then to paranoia, then to anger, because you're questioning everything, and you're frustrated. All these feelings are going on, yet you're trying to act like an adult and either reassure yourself or rationalize the situation with yourself, maybe possibly even explain to your partner or to your significant other, this is how this situation makes me feel. So I think sometimes as well, when people with borderline personality disorder are experiencing that fear of abandonment, you know, say you, you know, I'll be straight up honest. Like for me at the time, an example was, you know, my wife liked to go to the pub with her friends. Wasn't a very sociable person, and in my head I knew I had no reason to distrust her. I loved her with all, you know, we loved each other, we had a great relationship, very open, very honest. But yet the fear that she would kind of meet someone who I felt maybe better than me, maybe make her laugh more than I do, all those kind of things, would then maybe take her eye as such. And that sort of anxiety, again, which is compounded with self-worth, as I now know, created the anxiety, which then sparks again the fear of the abandonment. Oh, she's going to leave, she's going to find someone better, you know. And this can actually be so detrimental to a relationship, to your own mental health, you know. And the horrible thing about it is sometimes it's like a horse out the gate. It's gone before you've even managed to have a chance to catch it. So like, I think one really important thing is to accept that, you know, we do feel like this, and these behaviors and feelings don't necessarily come from somewhere that is our doing or in our control. But if we want a decent life with a decent relationship and, you know, a good future, we really have to try and take responsibility of how these things do affect us, and, you know, how they then in turn affect the people around us from our behavior and our, you know, energy that we give out. As I you know, I'm a firm believer of, you know, of energy. And I think when you're kind of like, I've had it myself, so my wife will say, oh, you know, I'm off out to my mates, you know, for the weekend. Yeah, no problem. And on the outside, I'm trying to be like cool about it, you know. It's cool, I got my friends to see, I got some Netflix to catch up on, or, you know. But inside it's crippling, like stomach pains, you know, my hands are shaking. And I'm honestly like trying to say, you know, tell myself, no, she's not the person that's caused this, she's not the person that's, you know, made me feel this way. I'm in a different situation, with a different person. And at times it did help, like it did help, well, it always helped, but not always did it stop it, if I'm honest, you know. And she would maybe come back after a few drinks. She would then still be able to sense, you know, that I had been anxious, or that I'd got myself into a bit of a pickle, as we used to say. And then, you know, then again, we'd then have to go and talk about it. And this is another kind of highlight that I want to get across to people, not only that don't have BPD, to try and understand how people feel about abandonment issues when they have BPD, but I also want people with BPD to try and understand how sometimes our feelings do affect those that are around us and are trying to support and care for us. So, you know, the unfortunate thing is this disorder does often try to keep us alone. It kind of tries to feed itself with self-evidence. So my example of this is as I said, with you know, with my wife, I shared a lot of my, you know, ups and downs emotionally and, you know, verbally with her. You know, not always as calm as I could have been, not always as well thought out and worded as I possibly could have been, and sometimes probably too much. You know, there's a balance between having a partner that's there to support you and having a partner that is, you know, in a sense, your support worker and meant to be there anytime you're kind of in crisis. You know, that kind of relationship really, that kind of behavior within a relationship does kill the romantic side of a relationship. Then paired with the fact of the behaviors during the episodes as such, or the events as some call it, when the fear of abandonment is, you know, raging. Because when we're feeling that fear of abandonment, and we become more needy, or, you know, more questioning, you know, oh, what time are you going to be back, and, you know, oh, you know, where are you going, do you want me to pick you up, you know, I understand how a lot of people see that as controlling behavior, and I think to some degrees it kind of is, you know, if it, especially if it's like obviously meant in like a malice way. But I think often with borderline personality disorder, those questions of reassurance kind of get confused with, you know, with the narcissistic controlling behavior. Because I honestly, you know, I've experienced that myself, and that was never any of my intention. I think when I've kind of been like that, it's mostly I've needed rational answers to be able to then combat those intrusive thoughts or that anxiety that comes with maintaining through that situation of her absence, and reassuring myself that she's going to come back, that it's actually unnecessary to feel the worry to the extent that I am. And I think sometimes we can reach out externally for that reassurance, which again, like I said, puts a lot of pressure on the people around us, because, you know, we're constantly in that need of like reassurance rather than that confident, go-getter, happy, bouncy side of us that we also get with BPD, which is probably the part most of all that they actually fell in love with, you know. Like I say, on my good days, I do the odd stand-up comedy here and there. You know, I can talk to people, I can do videos, podcasts, I can dream big. On my bad days, like, I literally need someone just to tell me I'm all right, you know, just as we all do. And it's kind of why I again wanted to put this channel together, because I know there's people out there struggling, people that have faced what I've just talked about within their relationships, and maybe are at the close point of their relationship breaking down. So if any of this information can help, you know, showing your partners, taking it on board yourself to kind of stop you self-sabotaging, you know, your possible happy future. So, you know, self-sabotage again is a very big point of BPD, which again we'll go on to in other videos, but kind of like going back to, you know, how our behaviors then affect those around us. You know, telling someone that when they say, oh, you know, I love you, and you're constantly questioning them, saying, you know, oh, you don't love me, how can you love me, I'm mental, you could do so much better than me, you know, you wouldn't have to deal with this, like, if I didn't want to deal with this, if I don't want to deal with this, why do you choose to, you know, you're not going to choose very long. All these things like really push someone away, no matter like how much of a loving person they are. Like, every person has their point. Like, if you was to say, ask yourself, if you was to say to someone, I love you, and they say, no you don't, I say, I love you, you know, you're going to get to, you know, even the person with the most patience will get to 1,000 times and be like, do you know what, you're never going to believe that I love you, you don't help yourself, so, you know, I can't do anything more, you know. And then those behaviors that are driven by the fear of abandonment kind of push the relationship to breaking point, which then usually the relationship will then end, meaning that the fear of the abandonment has self-evidence to back it up the next time. So a big point that I realized my fear of abandonment, you know, I grew up with my stepdad from the age of probably about 10, but before that I didn't have a dad. I didn't know my real dad really. So I always said, you know, oh, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't bother me, I haven't got abandonment issues, not at all, not at all. And I was doing a DBT therapy, and it kind of gave me a lot of insight into sort of behaviors. It didn't really give me much coping tools, if I'm honest, and this is again why I kind of wanted to do this, but it definitely gave me understanding. So I kind of learned about abandonment issues, and at the time I was in a very toxic relationship. It was, you know, it was great at the start, but again towards the end it had become quite toxic, and I'd kind of told my partner to get out, go, you know, can't do this, it's toxic, you know, you're making me angry, I don't want to be that person, get out, get out. And as I shut the door, as she walked out the door, I shouted out up the road, that's it, go like everyone else does. And as I shut the door, I kind of turned around and thought, that's a little bit mad, right? You just told her to go, and then you had to go at her for going like everyone else does, like. And that was kind of like a penny dropping, hang on, why would you do that? Like, that's your brain telling people one thing, and then being upset they'd done another, you know. And again, with the breakup of my wife for probably like the last year, 18 months of our marriage, my brain was like, oh no, she doesn't want to be here, she doesn't want to be here, you know, all pressures in life is all extra to deal with, she's probably gonna go, and again I just ended up pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and eventually, you know, she did go. And we kind of have to respect everyone's choices in that, because I do understand it. But like I said, my head was like, oh no, she's gonna go. And then when she actually went, that kind of like part of my BPD was like, oh my god, I can't believe she actually left. And it's like, hang on a minute, you were just saying she's gonna go, now you're like, oh no, I can't believe it. Like, and this is again, like, you know, as someone else said on some of the Facebook pages of borderline personality, you know, is our brain actually on our side? Like, is this thing in here like functioning for us, you know? Because I think through a lot of even people that haven't suffered trauma or have got a well balanced mental health, the brain's programmed not to help us in that sense. It's designed to keep us safe, fed, warm, and emotionally secure as such, you know. That's it. Any kind of like fear and fret, bam, it just kind of overloads. But I kind of gone a bit off course now. So I just wanted to say, yeah, so doubting people's love can kind of push them away. It'll obviously make them feel, you know, compared to your past, no matter kind of how much they try to show you a new future, you know. So like with my wife, I'd like managed to like travel and do loads of things that I'd never really done before in my life, you know, and that kind of tied in with the idolization of the situation as well. Like, it's so amazing because, you know, I'd done a load of stuff. But even then, when I was down, like, that obviously probably made her think, you know, I'm comparing her to the past that I've been through, because I'm living in my head as if I'm back there, you know. And this in turn will bring them down, you know, make them feel like nothing they do is good enough, which, you know, as we know, living with BPD, we don't feel enough anyway. So, you know, I think we need to be very aware that, you know, as much as we focus on ourselves and how we feel, because it is so intense and it is so overwhelming and so gripping at times, that maybe sometimes the key to pulling ourselves out of that and kind of getting that monkey off our shoulder as such is to just take a second and think, you know, how's this maybe coming across to them? Like, you know, maybe they've sacrificed stuff to be with you, maybe they've gone the extra mile, and you know, you're being controlled by your behaviors that are again not your fault that you have them. But if you want any decent life, it's your responsibility to try and figure this out and find your way, you know. And that's why the channel is going to be here. There's going to be people on there that have, you know, been through similar, no one's the same, but been through similar, and I think the sharing of all that is really going to be beneficial. So again, so yeah, just actually, so it's not fair that we deal with these feelings, so is it fair that we kind of make people deal with, you know, the repercussions of these feelings? So sorry, I'm just checking my notes here. So again, yeah, just a quick one, you know, that person again that you might be pushing away might be actually one of the first people that's loved you. And I think, you know, with BPD, it's I think it's being loved sometimes is an uncomfortable, unknown environment. I think my phone's going to die as well. There's 5%, but I'm just going to carry on anyway, just quickly, because I really want to give this one a little bit longer. But you know, so that person might well be, you know, the first person that's made you feel loved and stuff, and it's normal if you don't had that before to feel a bit uncomfortable, or it's a bit, you know, a bit of a dream, like, you know, like, am I really going to wake up soon? But no, you know, you're in the present, you're there, you're being loved, you know, you have this opportunity with this person. So kind of moving on then, how can we kind of control this abandonment issue and this fear of abandonment? And if I'm honest, it's a big monster. It's a long journey, but everyone, you can do it. It takes one, you know, starts with one step, and it's about being aware. So first of all, it's just like noting down when those situations or trigger situations, or questions or situations asked by your partner. She might, oh, my friend said can I go out here, or oh, I'm not feeling too happy about everything, I might need a couple days space or whatever. Think of the situation and try and feel it before it comes. So there's a thing it's called a mindfulness exercise, and the anagram is snail, as in to slow, like a slow snail. So the S stands for situate. So it means to kind of like, you just take yourself away, go for a walk, go somewhere quiet where you can kind of, do the next part, which is the N, and which is notice. So that's kind of notice that feeling, the thoughts that you're having. She'll leave me for someone better, the feeling of sad, empty, alone. And then actions is the next one, and notice the urges to act. So for me, I sometimes would get that I need to run away, call it a day, I'm done, I can't go through this, or it might be to like shout, oh, you're gonna leave, or sometimes it's to say nothing, but notice the urge to act, but don't act. And then just try to breathe while you're thinking of those actions and you wanted to do it. Just try and breathe calmly, listen to the wind, try and go somewhere nice where there's a river or something you can kind of focus your thought on whilst you're breathing, and give yourself just 10, 15, 20 minutes at least. It doesn't take that long. It's quicker than you think. I know it seems like a long time in the moment because you're raging and emotions are like panicking, but just breathe. Just acknowledge your feelings, breathe. And then the next thing is to try to rationalize them, identify the triggers, identify where it came from. Why would you feel like that? If this person has done anything to make you feel like that, which you'll usually find they haven't. So there's a lot of facts there, which moves on to the next one. So I was identify your triggers, take note. So the next one and lastly is label. It's the L of snail, SNIL, label. So try to label your thoughts and your emotions into facts. Like, why would the person want to leave? Yeah, they've married you. That's fact. Yeah, they've signed a joint tenancy on a house. That's fact. You've got children together. Fact. They've stuck it out with you this far. Fact. And these facts kind of help rationalize some of these feelings, and it does take time, and it is like arguing with yourself. But instead of running away with that negative thought process and going on a downward spiral, you have to stand up to him, and you have to argue it, and you have to say, no, I have no rights to feel like this anymore, not now. I had rights to feel like that back then, but not now, because I'm a different person. I'm in a different situation. I involve myself with different people, and I handle things differently. And that's basically kind of my rundown on the fear of abandonment. Apologise, it's a bit cut short, but I'm on 5%, and I've been dicing with this all day, like stopping and starting. So I just want to say a big thanks to everyone. Good things coming up. I've got a couple of podcasts arranged, so I'm going to be getting them done in probably the next 4 weeks. I'm hoping to kind of travel with them as well. So if anyone's out there, in other countries that want to do some podcasts about their experiences, things they've overcome, things they've managed, even professionals out there, clinical professionals, I'd love to hear from you all. My details are in the bottom. Big shout out to everyone that's following on the Facebook page, on the YouTube. I haven't set up the Instagram yet because this is already keeping me attached to my phone far more than I'd actually like. But I well enjoy connecting with you guys. It's really fulfilling. I get to come to some beautiful places and hopefully come and travel around the world and come and meet everyone. You guys all blown me away with your amazing stories. You're all so strong, stronger than you even know right now, and I hope through this process we can light up some of the fires in you, because you guys have all got a lot to give, and it's just about bringing awareness to it. All right, so big love, keep safe everyone, stay strong, stay in touch. Feel free to message me on my Facebook, on you know, on the Instagram. If you find me, it's Anthony Owen 2085. Be really good to just connect with everyone. So yeah, keep coming and stay tuned. Also, I'm not sure if I mentioned it at the start, but we do have journals coming out. So mindful journals, they will be coming out in the next sort of 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I'm hoping to. Give me a shout if you want to pre-order any of them. Big love.